thumbs up.
Okay. It's 5 o'clock in time for the regular scheduled Natchitoches Parish School Board meeting for March. Board members and visitors, please silence your cell phones and all electronic devices as not to interrupt the meeting. Thanks for your cooperation. Board members, you know what I'm going to ask right now. Take a guess. Speak directly into the microphone. Thank you.
Scoot it back and then talk.
I don't know, but we have members of the public that would really like to hear what you say. And if you listen to the meeting, you can't hear, you just hear the noise. Before we take a roll call, Mr. Lee Wascom has just announced that this is the last board meeting that we will have in this room until October. And that's pretty good, so progress is really being made. There we go. Mr. Danzy, can you do the invocation?
I can.
Ms.
You wanna do
Harvey.
the roll call first?
No. Ms. Harvey, can you do the pledge?
Yes.
If you would, bow your heads and pledge and praise with me. Lord, we thank you for this many blessings you've given us. We thank you for this day, and we thank you for the opportunities that you've given this school board. We ask that you just let us make the moves that we need to make and keep us in your thoughts at all times. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Danzy and Miss Leela. Ms. Reynolds, can we get a roll call for attendance?
Mr. Danzy?
Here.
Mr. Matuire?
Here.
Mr. Benefield?
Here.
Mr. Harris? Mrs. McGaskey?
Here.
Ms. Palmer? Ms. Phelps?
Here.
Ms. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Fredu?
Here.
Mr. Nicholson?
Here.
And Ms. Page?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Before the superintendent starts his update, board members, I want to thank all of you for attending the LSBA meeting. I know we had one board member that had problems because of family emergency, but you know that's our time where we get our annual points in continuing education required by law. I think we learned a lot. We need some action that needs to take place immediately with the ITEP committee and a couple other areas. So I might be calling on some of you to help me with that if you would. Superintendent Eloy.
Yes, sir. Really, the only thing to report in the interim since our last board meeting, which was last Tuesday, is it was, I think, a very unique moment in Natchitoches Parish athletic history that we had two teams, both our high school boys, in the championship games. Unfortunately, it didn't work out the way we wanted, but that is still a massive achievement in and of itself. So, go Gators and, Chiefs. The other thing I would say is I thought that the LSBA convention was a time of a lot of learning, being able to talk with other board members from around the state, other superintendents around the state, and the LSBA executive group about the obstacles or challenges, rather, that will be facing us in the next year. I think it's going to be a very unique year in education statewide. Whether it be the talks of ESAs or constitutional amendments possibly, and all the things that I think they're going to be tasked with at the state level, but obviously are going to trickle down and affect us. So I want to thank all the board members for their participation, because it definitely was a time of a lot of learning. And I think it was also neat that Natchitoches a few times during different presentations was highlighted, which is always fun. So that being said, that concludes my update for the March full board meeting.
Not only highlighted, but we were the guinea pig for one of the classes that were being taught, so evaluators can evaluate the teacher. That was amazing that Natchitoches was one of those parishes selected. That's great.
Yes, sir.
Before we move into the adopting the agenda, Ms. Harvey's asked that we look at something that's going to happen here on April 6th, the Autism Awareness Walk. It's going to happen at the Natchitoches City Park in the parking lot at 300 Amulet Street. There's a registration fee. If you'll look on that flyer, Ms. Harvey, where is this going to be posted?
It's on Voices for Autism Facebook page. It's actually in the newspaper and gonna be in the Natchitoches Press Journal.
Okay, great. So it's in the newspaper?
Yes.
That's great. This is a worthwhile organization and an opportunity to help support the community. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Okay. Informational reports. Ms. Rashow, you had some, did you have something else you were going to add to your report?
Consent agenda first, Mr. Benefit?
I'm sorry. Thank you, Ms. Revels. We've had the opportunity to look at our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to accept?
I so move.
I second.
We have a motion by Mr. Danzy, a second by Mr. Nicholson, and thank you for keeping me straight, Ms. Revels. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Thank you. I'm sorry, Ms. Rashow.
I just needed to update the document to reflect the $28 an hour for our cafeteria managers, to remove the, I think they had something on there about principal stipends. We removed that for summer school. Ms. Kanika, the one that I sent to you, at the red, it's okay? No problem? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not reflected on this document here. Okay, but
problem is-
but it's a known deal that's submitted to you now?
And it's the same as last summer, and I also just make sure that, I'm sure you'll make sure they get the document. It also reflects where the new boards will go. I reported on that last week, how many would be deployed to the various schools in Natchitoches Parish, and so I added that so that you could have a written hard copy of that information. So we'll make sure you get those.
And Ms. Hicks, just make sure your cafeteria managers know. I'm sure they'll ask.
Yeah,
That's only for the cafeteria managers, that's the change, was the $28?
the $28.
I'm gonna note it on here that there is a change to that document, just for anybody who looks at it to see, but I'll note
Awesome,
it on
thank
here.
you.
Thank you, Ms. Rashow. Okay. Mr. Shirley.
Good afternoon. As you all know, we had some major rain issues over the last month and a half, and we found a lot of roof leaks. I think so far we have fixed 36 different roof leaks over the district. It's been pretty busy on those. We repaired the ball field lights at Lakeview and their scoreboard for the baseball field. We've had 3 fire marshal walkthroughs for the finals on some fire alarm upgrades. One at Magnet, one at LP Vaughn, and one at Marthville. We've refinished multiple gym floors. We've repaired the old gym floor at Marthville, and it is being sanded to be refinished. We had no moisture under the floor. What they thought was the moisture when they pulled it up was actually the old creosote that was under there that was shiny, so it was not wet. Scared me a little bit, but I think we're good to go out there. We have the bids in to put the drainage system around the school. I got to get those to Lee next week. So we're moving along. Any other questions?
So, Mr. Shirley, did you find those leaks, or did they find you?
Well, they found us. Some of them we found. We actually found 22 impact injuries on Fairview Alpha. We went up there for one area and found 22 impacts right around their gym and their cafeteria area. Yes, all hurricane related.
So that was all part of that adjustment?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Shirley?
Are any of the leaks major to the effect that we would have to look at replacement of some of the roof?
All the roofs need replacing throughout the whole district. Until we get our final word on the lawsuit, all we can do is repair. So we have had some major issues where we've had some major leaks, and then we've got some that's not so major. NJH had a pretty good one. Fairview had 2. Lakeview had 3 that were pretty significant leaks, and we have made the effort to repair them. All the others are just minor stuff, wet ceiling tile here and there, but those 3 had some pretty good ones. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hicks?
Okay, I believe, Ms. Kanika, I sent an update in here, a revised, I put it in board docs.
If you,
I think it's in
probably
there. It
down at the
says
bottom.
revised.
Yeah, there's,
It's G,
It's under
letter G.
G. Says revised.
It's in there.
Letter G, child nutrition update revised.
It's revised at the bottom. Scroll down, please. Let's see.
there we go. Okay, so I do have an almost $300,000 claim submitted for February. Would have been a really great month, but the weather kind of clipped us there. It really hurt. So that's the only change to my report. And of course, later in the meeting, we did get bid results for our warehouse generator and cooler project, freezer cooler project. So I'll be asking for those to be approved. And I'm also asking for permission tonight to go to bid with our paper and cleaning bid for the 24-25 school year. But other than that, I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks. Okay. Ms. Page is not here. Mr. Lee, any update on sales tax? Okay. Oh, well, Ms. Hicks, I think you're up. No, wait, we've already done it. I'm sorry. We have to do that. Mr. Watson, I'm sorry.
We're gonna do transportation?
No, I think he
Yeah.
said Watson.
Watson.
Yeah, Watson.
Jacob Watson.
Watson.
How are y'all doing this afternoon?
Good, how are you?
So, I'd like to start off by saying we have added a new member to our maintenance team. His name is William Warford. He comes from a long line of diesel engineers. So, he's going to help us keeping this fleet up to 100% operational. With that being said, he's going to go a long way in helping us start our preventative maintenance and really our air conditioning. I think we have like maybe one more weekend of cool weather, and then I don't think it's coming back. So our air conditioning is a top priority to make sure every single bus has it. In line with our continuous improvement, we're doing determinations on refresher courses that some of our drivers may need to take. And I actually look at our community and our district to, send me anything that they have that I can investigate and put forth for that driver to do that refresher, should I not have the purview to see it myself. Leadership, our auxiliary training for our unsafe behaviors and unsafe conditions is at 100%, and we stand by no exceptions on either of that. Lastly, I'd like to say, go Chiefs and Gators. Y'all had a great run, and we are so appreciative that y'all came out to us and reached out, and we were able to be a part of that. And we've had 40-plus district charters just since the first of the month. And we at Echo Ride love being a part of this. So please, keep using us any chance you get. But that's it for me. Any questions? All right.
Thank you, Mr.
Y'all have a
Watson.
wonderful day.
Okay. Ms. Tankia.
She's not down there.
Ms. Reba, can you take the finance? Ms. Tankia's absence.
No problem. Item 5A, discuss and consider a resolution adjusting Hammond, Seals, Adkins, Geis, and Noah and Perkins to reflect the hourly rates approved by the Attorney General for employment of special counsel.
Second.
Offer by Mr. McTwire, second by Ms. McGaskey. Any discussion on this item? Ms. Revels, can you do a roll call vote?
Mr. Danzy?
Yes.
Mr. Matuire?
Yes.
Mr. Benefield?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Fredo?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
And Ms. Page?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Item 5B, take appropriate action, NPSB warehouse freezer cooler bid. I'll offer.
I'll second.
We have an offer by Ms. Phelps, a second by Ms. Barbara Page. Discussion on this cooler item? She has recommended J&J Services as a low bidder. Any discussion? Ms. Revels, can you have a roll call vote?
Mr. Danzy?
Yes.
Mr. Motwire?
Yes.
Mr. Benefield?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Fredo?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
And Ms. Page?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Item 5C, take appropriate action, NPSB warehouse generator bid. I'll offer.
Second.
We have an offer by Ms. Phelps, a second by Mr. Motwire for Ward Services LLC. Any discussion on this item?
What size generator is it? 80 kW.
Okay, roll call vote, Ms. Revels.
Mr. Danzy?
Yes.
Mr. Motwire?
Yes.
Mr. Benefield?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Fredo?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
And Ms. Page?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Item 5D, request to advertise for paper and cleaning products for the 24-25 school year.
I'll offer that.
I'll second.
Well, we've got 4 seconds here. Come on, which one of y'all wants to step up? Ms. Page, offered by Benefield, second by Ms. Barbara Page. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no.
Item 5E, discuss and consider a sale of 3 pieces of property, including the old Clucherville property, to Stephen Belo for $74,500, and the sale of 2 tracts at the intersection of Highway 117 and Highway 118 near Kisatchie Baptist Church to Angelo Peza III for $17,000, and to authorize Dr. Grant Eloy to sign any necessary documents on behalf of the Natchitoches Parish School Board to close the sales. Mr. Wascom.
Okay, I brought up on the,
Sorry.
sorry.
I'll offer.
Sorry.
We have an offer by Ms. Phelps, second by Mr. Motwire. Thank you, Mr. Lee, for that explanation.
Okay, this is the old Clucherville property. In each of these pieces of property, we've actually received more than appraised value. I have Janice Bolton here if y'all have any detailed questions. But in this property is $74,500. The appraised value was $72,000. The offer on the other properties for the Kisatchie property was $17,000, but it's 2 different tracks, but the appraised value on both those tracks came to $15,000, was it? Yeah, $14,000. So we received an additional $3,000 above appraised value on those 2 pieces of property. And they're both cash offers as well. So this is not only to accept the bid, but also to authorize Dr. Eloy to sign closing documents.
Now, we're keeping the mineral rights on it.
Yes, mineral rights are ours still.
Mineral rights.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, any additional
Yeah, that's
discussion?
part of what I gave you. Yeah, it has to be.
We are keeping the mineral rights or not?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what we had said we wanted to keep.
Yeah, that's how we offered all our properties up when I first proposed it.
I'd like to thank Ms. Janice Bolton for all her hard work, just identifying these properties, where they were, where they are, and providing all this information to get it to the board to this point and for sale. Any more discussion? Roll call vote, Ms. Revels.
Okay, give me just a second, because it's not reflecting Ms. Palmer having entered the meeting. And I don't know how to add her. It's a new one on me. Just a second. Okay, I'll have to go back and figure out how to add it. Mr. Danzy,
Yes.
Mr. Matoir,
Yes.
Mr. Benefield.
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey,
Yes.
Ms. Phelps,
Yes.
Ms. Harvey,
Yes.
Mr. Fredo,
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson,
Yes.
Ms. Page,
Yes.
and Ms. Palmer.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Ms. Bolton, thank you for the countless hours you put in identifying these properties and getting them to market and to us today. Okay. So did you have a computer, something on your phone, you just walked in the woods to, it said school board?
I spent 3 weeks driving through the mud and finding all kinds of stuff on y'all's property, and some that y'all didn't even know that I worked with the tax assessor.
Bring it in, we'll sell it.
I worked with the tax assessor to have individual assessment numbers assigned to each of the properties, and
One of those was done like for $200 some 30 years ago or something.
yeah, that one was fun. School board didn't actually own it. One I found a mobile home on that a man said his grandmother owned the property. 2 of them I found cemeteries owned. Once I made it through the mud to get to them.
Oh, no.
But these 3, the school and Pusherville property, I'm confident you own. The other 2, the buyer's a judge and he's run his own title. And we've got, Mr. Wascom has asked Tommy Murkison to verify title, of course.
That's great.
And the others, as we determine for sure ownership, I'll be marketing them as well.
Thank you again for your
Thank
work.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. One more, Ms. Phelps.
Okay, item 5F, discuss and consider increase in resident teacher stipend. I'll offer.
Second.
Okay, we have an offer and a second.
Yeah, so, Mr. Benefield, if you don't mind, this is a new item between last meeting and this meeting, and this probably comes as a surprise to some folks, just the information about this. So, when I did my student teaching, I'm sure the same is true for Mr. Nicholson and Ms. Page. You were a student and you didn't get paid anything, and you weren't even allowed to work, so you were really broke. But now, we don't call them student teachers, we call them residents. They do 2 semesters. And the state has allocated for all public school districts to pay $3,300 to those students. Well, that was all fine and well, and we were trucking along until a neighboring district, who will remain nameless, decided to start paying their resident teachers $15,000 a year. And overnight, the amount of resident teachers we received from the previous year to the next year dropped 66%. Last year, this fall, we only had 3, and I think the previous year we had close to 20. And so what we've looked at, we sat with the resident teachers from NSU from all different districts, and we talked to them, whether they were from Red River, Sabine, DeSoto, or Natchitoches. We said, okay, you did that. Why did you do that? And they all said, well, the money. We can't work, but that allowed me to pay bills and everything. And we asked them, we said, what if we came close to that number, but you didn't have to drive an hour or 45 minutes to another district? Would that be something that you'd be interested in? And every last one of them said yes. So what we've looked at is, for funding, we said, okay, we have the $3,300. Then also, the state allows each one of these resident teachers to work 15 substitute days, which equals another $900, and that $900 would have been spent regardless. So that gets us to $4,200, and what we'd like to do is come up to $10,000, so $5,800. We'd like to, in this first year, cap that at 10 residents. So the most we'd spend this year would be $58,000. We may go up to 11 or 12, so you can add another 11.6 to that. But we're really looking at that 10,000. We believe this will get us back in that competitive posture. The reason this is important is because when you're talking about growing your own, if we can have those students at resident teachers, the research and just the history shows that we're going to keep them as teachers. And these are people who are certified. They've gone through all the proper stuff. They're raring to go. We still need to help them out. They're young. They're new, but they're going to be good employees. And so we would like you to do this. The funding right now, I will tell you, worst case scenario, this would come out of general. I sprung this a little quickly on Miss Rachel, so she has not had time to research if it can come out of federal or not. And that's something she's going to look at. But we're asking you to vote on the program right now with the idea being, even if Miss Rachel isn't able to find the sources within federal, that we would rely on general. But we look at this as an investment in getting certified teachers. And if you read the rationale, it tells you, I mean, the hard evidence is that as soon as this other district started doing this, you know, it kind of tanked our ability to attract these folks because, money talks. So we're looking to start this in the fall of the 24-25 school year. The reason this had to happen is I had planned to bring this to y'all for a while, but I forgot about NSU's timeline that they're already starting to place students in the spring semester. So that's the timeliness of the issue. And that's, again, why I can't wait. I can't wait to hear about funding necessarily from federal. I have to implement it and then hope that federal can come in. But I've been assured by Lee that he can, in 1 year, $58,000, he can budget that and move some things around. So that's any questions on that?
So $58,000 from general fund,
Worst case.
if Ms. Rachel can't find a way.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, we really wanted to do 20, but the reason we settled at the 10 is because we don't want to put general on the line for 116. We thought it was more, just better to start with that 10 in the first year, and then move to the 20 if we have the funding from federal or if things balance out a little bit better in the 25-26 budget.
Looks like if you do 10, you can gauge the results of the process too.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
So if federal funding is not available for us to pay the balance, what other sources were you going to propose to us?
General.
I heard the general fund, so the 58,000 would come out of the general fund. It won't affect anything else academically or students
No, ma'am. I mean,
in any way?
no, I mean, I would imagine, I'm speaking for Lee a little bit here, but I mean, he could look at some of our things such as miscellaneous supplies, some of those line item budgets where you could pull a little bit here, a little bit there, things that aren't impacting student learning. That scraping together $58,000 from around a $60 million budget, it's not easy, but it's possible. But that's again why we stayed at 58, not 116.
So the numbers that we've went over the past few months with the projection for next year, or the next 2 years, the 58,000 is not accounted in that, right? This is new.
This would be new, correct?
If we take the money out of it, I would add that having these residents in the schools is massively important, right? It helps on so many levels, and considering the fact we have an education college right in Natchitoches, and it feels like year after year we're losing these kids to other parishes, anything we can do to foster that relationship with Northwestern and get those students to stay home should be of the utmost importance, and we've been saying it for years. Now, that's not talking about the money side of it, but just as far as having those residents in our schools, I think every school would say this would be huge.
Yeah, and I will say, and I don't think you were going down this road, but we have a really good relationship with NSU. The problem is, in terms of them placing residents, they can't look at us as any better than any of these other districts. And so it really is, there's a market. And again, it's so different than when we were in college. I just got placed where they told me. Now the residents are in the driver's seat and they know it. And the school prepares them to think that way, because it's almost a bidding war for some of these. If you're a math graduate, I mean, you have HR directors coming after you like it's the NFL Combine. So this y'all, I don't want to. I would love not to spend this money, but this is for us to be able to stay competitive in the most important competitive piece we're in right now, which is attracting qualified, certified, effective teachers.
And that's not easy to do right now.
No, ma'am, it's not.
What's the timeline on finding out about the federal part of it?
I think, Ms. Rochelle, and I don't want to speak for you, but tell me if I'm wrong, you said in the next couple months you'd be able to really. Yeah, okay.
Just out of
Yes.
just out of curiosity, how many resident or student teachers do we have this year?
So in the fall, we had 3.5. The reason I say half is because one of the folks was like, the fall was only their partial. We went up in spring, but before the meeting's over, I can get you that number. But it did go up a little bit in the spring, but it wasn't to where we were. Last year was the largest year we ever had, and it was because we pushed and we created those relationships. And then one of my superintendent friends just came and kind of circumvented us on that, which, hey, all is fair.
Well, and we wouldn't automatically have 10 next year, even with the money increase. That would be the maximum.
That's the
amount.
maximum, yeah. So the maximum budget is that, but it's it could be half of that.
It would actually be great if it was 10.
It would be.
Absolutely.
Oh, and I apologize. There is one other piece that we're putting in there. The other piece is if you are a resident with us and you decide to stay with us, then your first year teaching with us, we would not start you at 0 years experience. We would start you at 1 year experience. Another little thing to try to attract people. And it's not a big cost to us, but it's saying, hey, that we want to, you scratch our back, we're scratching your back.
So Neil has come to student teaching, like in college.
What, say that again?
So Neil, like in college sports, has come to student teaching.
Yes, yes.
Okay, any more discussion? Ms. Revels, can we have a roll call vote on this?
I'm sorry, I was just texted. We currently have 5 residents in this semester. So it went up from fall, 3 to 5. Thank you, Ms. Widener, who's apparently watching.
Mr. Danzy?
Yes.
Mr. Matoir?
Yes.
Mr. Benefiel?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Fredo?
No.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
And Ms. Page?
Yes.
Motion passed.
That concludes finance, facility, service, and insurance report.
Thank you, Ms. Phelps. Okay, Mr. Danzy. Yes, sir.
Okay, we want to take items A through D, and that's all the policies that have been worked on, and I'll offer that.
I'll second it. Have a motion by Mr. Danzy, and a second by Benefiel for these policies that met favorably in committee. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay.
Item 7E, discuss and consider 2024-25 school calendar. Option A as voted on by district staff.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll offer.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Ms. Phelps, second by Ms. Page, and still want to thank Ms. Martin for the most exhaustive, extensive, best explanation of the school calendar we've ever seen. Any questions on this calendar? Okay, any discussions? Ms. Revels, can you do a roll call vote on this calendar?
Mr. Danzy?
Yes.
Mr. Matoir?
Abstain.
Mr. Benefiel?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Fredo?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
Ms. Page?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
And item 7F, which we are not going to use. Is that correct?
No, we
Oh,
are.
we are.
We are.
We are?
going.
Okay. We're going executive session?
Yes, sir. We have to have a motion to go in executive session.
Move that, sorry.
We have a motion by Ms. Phelps and a
Second.
second by Mr. Danzy to move into executive session. Roll call vote.
1 second. Phelps and Danzy. Trying to catch up. Mr. Danzy?
Yes.
Mr. Matoire?
Yes.
Mr. Benefiel?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Fredo?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson?
Yes.
And Ms. Page?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Can we ask the members of the public to exit the room? We're in executive session, and discussion in this portion of the meeting, it will be behind closed doors. You're gonna have to go too, Chad. Yeah.